Hello everybody! 1 week further into the future, being the present today, I'm quite excited about this weekend because a lot of things has to be done. And I don't even have all the equipment yet. So yeah, there's a big delay in the delivery for my packages. I have to complete certain tasks. Since the boat is launching not this weekend, not that weekend, the next weekend, but one day after, on Monday, after next weekend, there have to be a lot of things that I can check off my to-do list. So maybe it's a good thing to start having one at all. Maybe I'll put something up on the wall over there. I'm getting somewhat time pressed. First, it's a beautiful day. It's a bit hot. I've been moving up and down the ladder a couple of times to bring stuff on board, and I'm already sweating, so I'm going to change this into something more airy. Well, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's a big bit on the large side. Got some room to grow here. I bought this at a local Lidl. You guys still have a laugh after all. Ta-da! Better? No pants under here, so it's nice and airy. I will rip this thing off. That's from a previous owner. The previous owner is no longer aboard, so let's get rid of this first. Let's start with the available time I have. So the launch is on Monday the 20th. That means I've got 2 weekends left. It's this weekend and next weekend. So weekend 1 being this weekend, and weekend 2 is the weekend on which the launch follows on Monday. If we start backwards, we start on Monday. The one thing I've been told to do when the boat is in the water is align the prop shaft to the engine. So that's one thing I have to do on Monday, on the day the boat launches. So this weekend I've got a whole lot of things to do, and that's not only this weekend but also next weekend. So I'll just have to do things as quick as possible, so this last weekend before launch I can only fine-tune things. So, but nevertheless, what I have to do, I still have to hook up the battery, check the engine mounts, but I want to start is the quadrant. The quadrant hasn't been used ever since I've got the boat. That is in combination with the pedestal. Feeling a bit worried about this because I don't know if it's doable on my own. So yeah, well, we'll find out. So the steering plus the wood and the pulleys, attached cables. So that's all about the steering system. One other thing I have to do is to mount the water filter. I finally got the right one. Another thing I have to mount is the fuel filter. I finally got all the right parts for it. Connect the fuel lines, of course. Check the fuel tank. I thought maybe I try suck some samples from the bottom of the tank, just to see if it's clean enough. If not, I have to make an alternative fuel supply plan. After all that is done, then I have to bleed the fuel supply and the engine, of course, because I've only got a 1 hour, maybe 1.5 hours to get all the other things done when I'm floating. And my main focus when launching will be, are there any leaks? Other things I still have to do, just finish off the Sika on the keel, mount the engine controls, the engine hatch. It's still leaking a bit from right above the engine, above my beautifully painted engine. And then we've got the bilge pump. Last week I installed the bilge pump prior to the engine being lowered in the engine compartment. Now I have to mount the hoses and the electrics. Last week I discovered that one particular hole in the structure where the engine is resting on was pretty rotten inside, so I filled it up with unthickened epoxy once more. Just gonna drill a pilot hole and then see if the 10mm bolt will hold on. I have to attach the pulpit to the hull because it's kind of loosey now, dangling, and it has to be bolted through to get the mast a bit of a support. And that in combination with some wood, we're gonna make something to get the mast supported. Yeah, there'll be more. I'll keep you in the loop. Now let's first start with the engine edge. Yeah, I came here pretty unprepared camera-wise, because all my batteries are almost dead or dead completely. My lavalier mic, my lapel mic also dead. So I have to charge those first and then you get some decent sound. So I'm back to my woolly Rode little microphone. I hope you guys can follow. So the first thing I want to do, a better fix for this, is this still is pretty leaky. I probably put in too much filler in the epoxy. I made a wooden thing here and I'm going to secant that onto the hedge. I think that should do the job. Now I'm gonna let this cure for the day, remove the screws, get some butyl, and then screw it back in with the butyl tape. So while I was at it, I also did the Sikaflex on the keel to hull joint. But that does mean that I'm done for now with the Sikaflex, so let's go on with the next job. So now one of the first things I have to do is drill out the engine mount hole that was filled with epoxy by me last week. Now, as far as I know, and as far as I've been told, you have to start in the most lower position when you're aligning the engine with the prop shaft. That's because the higher this point gets, the more stress it will create on these supports. So yeah, start low. But this is good. Yeah, let it settle. Job done. I'll wait till she's in the water and then align the prop shaft with the engine. Next job. I think the water filter. I finally got the right one, so let's get it out of the box. So I got it fixed. It's nice and tight. And now let's see where the hoses should be connected. If you look carefully, you can see an up arrow here and a down arrow here, corresponding to these two inlets and outlets. And if you look inside the filter, you see that the inlet is always free to flow, and if it wants to go out, it has to pass the sieve. It's a simple but very good design. Okay, let's get some hoses connected. Well, these are your typical Dutch inlet hoses, reinforced with a steel and 25 millimeter, so it should fit. Let's dry fit it first. Well, that goes on pretty easy. A few months ago, actually it was over a year ago I think, or maybe even 2 years, it was from my previous boat, Brindis. I bought this pre-filter, diesel filter. Yeah, I never got a chance to install it, but these filters, they're from China, and they come with a... I made a bit of a miscalculation last time. I connected the fuel line directly to the engine, and of course there has to be a pre-filter. Not that I didn't know it needed a pre-filter, but I just forgot forgot I had to mount it first. So, I connected all the hoses, the fuel line. There's one thing, the engine control. One thing broke off. That's for the gear change thing. I'm about to bleed the system, and then she'll be ready for next week. And maybe next week I can do a little test run. I cannot do it today or tomorrow because I'm still missing about 1 meter of exhaust pipe. So, or else it's going to be pretty messy in here, and that's not going to be a delight. So, okay, I'll call it a day, and tomorrow I'll talk you through about what we did and etc. See you tomorrow. Bye.
The next morning.
And the next morning it is. Good morning. I promised you to have a look at the things to do, and I think I made pretty good progress yesterday. So let's see. What did I do? I fixed the engine mounts, not to be confused with aligning the prop, because that's still a thing I have to do once in the water. I fixed the bilge pump. I fixed all the fuel lines. I mounted the fuel filter. I mounted the water filter. I attached the cables, but one of them broke off, was pretty rusty, so, and that's not the cable itself, but the mounting thing. What did I do more? The engine heads I did. Oh no, the cables were concerning the steering, the engine controls. Oh, I did see the keel. So what's left for today? This part. The quadrant, the steering pulley woody thing. Attach the cables to the quadrant, hook up the battery. Yeah, this engine test run can only happen next week. Yeah, this is for today, and I think this is the right order of things to do also. So, yeah, today I start with the quadrant, and that's what I'm going to do now. So this thing was actually pretty damn difficult to make. Not having a template, I just had the old molded one, as you could have seen in the one of my previous videos, and yeah, it was pretty nasty to make. And why? Well, because I could not make a perfect template here. I could not drill, put the pulley metal thing on top and then drill, because yeah, some of the holes are inaccessible. And I wanted to make sure that this thing wouldn't rot once again, so I had to drill holes, over drill them, then fill them with epoxy and then drill them again. So what I did, I made a drawing in my computer and then printed that out on exactly the right size of this. Then I used that as a drilling template. So yeah, I hope, and I really hope so, that these holes align and align properly to not only the bolts but also to this part. I also try to drill these as straight as possible, so let's see if I did any good at all. This is the amount of water that didn't enter the bilge, just to give you guys an idea how much that was. Yeah, I'm sorry about the image quality, because it's kind of hard here to get this particularly dark spot while being backlit by the sun over here, but there's no other way. I also put a light over here, but don't think it's very good. Nonetheless, I'm going to give it a try. In order to get this working, I'm going to bash this piece up against the ceiling. Okay, this one up. Get my rubber hammer.
Many minutes later.
So I got it. I just drilled out the holes a bit more, and now it's in position, everything fits. This nut behind here is bolt. I'm not getting the nut on unless the bolt is up. That will be the first bolt I'll put some butyl on. And then one by one I'm going to tighten them. But another thing that worries me just a bit is that I have to put some butyl on the pedestal itself. So not only the bolts but also beneath here. And I'm not gonna get this up anymore because somehow this pedestal grippy thing is secured to this floor here. And on the inside I cannot find any bolt or screw or anything. So I'm not sure how this is mounted. Could be that I just have to wiggle these aluminium parts out of these rubbery blocks, but yeah, you can see it moving up and down, and this is not going anywhere. Only the floor is coming up. That might be due to the fact that this floor is completely rotten beneath the core, so that has to be redone. For now, I want to put some butyl on here. On here, I can easily move the pedestal this way, so that part would not be a problem. So let's get out the butyl tape. Well, there's always the one. There he is. I'm just gonna hope it's all okay for now. Okay, well, the next part of the journey concerns this part. Quadrant. It has to be mounted like this. And this goes the other side like so. If it even wants to go in. Yep. And then there's this block that is containing the rudder stock in the right position, so it won't move on me. It has to be aligned, of course, because the cables, the steering cables, are gonna go here and there. Then continue up and go mount here somewhere, yeah, like here. So first part is to get it on the right height. And yeah, since I'm alone, it's gonna be a little bit of a fiddly job, I suppose. So let's go and get it done. Well, I don't know if you can see anything. Yeah, it has to be done like this. So, yay, I got it in. I have no idea how it's going here, but yeah, it's all set. I had to make a few modifications, but other than that, and I think I'll have some kind of security here by, I don't know, a zip tie or anything that this little metal piece cannot slide out, because then we would have a real problem. So let's see what it does. Okay, skipper, starboard. That's all she has. Port. Okay. Keep this heading. Okay, the next thing on the to-do list is to cut some cable for the battery. Okay, so I promised I would take you and see what I've done with the electricity, in particular the battery and the cables to the battery. I've got my starter battery right here, and I've got a plus and a minus terminal, both going in to the engine compartment, which is neatly accessible via the shower/head. Okay. Both of them are coming from down below, going up. Got the switches here, so they're both, the lower switch is the plus for the engine. The mast is the mast for both the engine and other onboard electronics / batteries. And then the top one is for the second or third battery, which is not aboard here. So this is done. Okay, that brings us back to the board. So this was the list I made. This is this weekend, this is next weekend, and this is the Monday after this weekend. These were the jobs I already did. Today I did the quadrant, the steering wheel and police. I attached both cables. I hooked up the battery. I did not check the fuel tank yet, so that's going there and that's going there. So next weekend, engine controls. I just missed a little thingy there. Maybe do a test run. I still have to get the 1 meter of exhaust hose. Okay, fuel tank, alternative fuel supply. So that's it for next weekend and next Monday. There's gonna be more, I'm sure, but this is what I came up with, and this is really essential for the boat to not only float but also motor out of the harbor area. Okay guys, that was it for this weekend. I see you next weekend. Bye.